Hey guys, welcome to Flights in 20, little Microsoft Flight Simulator series here on the channel. And today, welcome aboard Alaska Flight 357 with service from Palm Springs, California to Portland, Oregon, November 26th of 2022. We are departing Palm Springs about 9:45 a.m. We'll arrive in Portland around 12:17. Expected duration of this flight is 2 hours and 32 minutes. So it's 9:25 a.m. November 26th, a few days back, in Palm Springs, California, Palm Springs International Airport.
Alaska 357 is cleared to Portland Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 31 left climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure frequency is 126.7 squawk 7372.
Okay, so we're getting set to leave Palm Springs. Looks like a beautiful day in Southern California. So Flights in 20, a series I've been doing for a little while now. Have just been doing music and flights, but I'm going to try a little commentary, which hasn't been overly successful or overly popular, I guess, which is understandable. And I make these videos mostly for myself. I like to watch them while I work out and clean the house and all that kind of stuff, and just have them going. I don't have to pay really close attention to them, but the game is just a beautiful game, and so it's fun to have on the TV on YouTube while I'm doing the things that I do every day as a stay-at-home dad. Alright, we're taxiing out to runway 31 left. Get our clearance to take off here. Alaska Flight 357. We'll be heading north to Portland, Oregon. The weather's a little bit different up there. It's overcast and wet, as it normally is this time of year in the Pacific Northwest.
Altimeter 30.01, wind tree 09er at 6. Departure to the north approved. Cleared for takeoff runway 31 left.
Cleared for takeoff runway 31 left Alaska 357.
Alright, so a little bit of a breeze, not much, 6 knots, and it will be coming from, it'll be a headwind with a slight crosswind from our right to left as we take off heading 310, which is not too far off of due north, which works for us heading to Portland. Now let's get this airplane up in the sky. Really cool looking mountains outside of Palm Springs. We're gonna fly right over Death Valley National Park. So we're flying the Airbus A320neo. It is just the stock Microsoft Flight Simulator Airbus. And
Alaska 357, leaving my airspace frequency change approved.
it gets kind of a bad rap, I feel. And I'll go into that a little bit later in just a second here, as we get our autopilot on and start turning to the right. The A320neo, just the stock Asobo Microsoft Flight Simulator one. A lot of people, I don't know, I've heard it called an unfinished product, but I disagree. I think it was exactly what Microsoft wanted it to be, and I'll expound on that in just a second. So we got up here to our initial altitude at 6,000, 10,000 feet, something like that.
Southwest 28906 contact, Los Angeles Center on 132.5.
So we get up here to this initial altitude, and I'm sitting here waiting for them to tell me the altitude I need to go to next.
Level 300. American 25907 Los Angeles Center.
And they never did. So somehow I lost air traffic control. I tried to manually put in the radio frequency, and it wouldn't let me. So I got stuck on this Los Angeles center that was just basically ignoring that I existed. So I just had to decide myself what cruising altitude I was going to go at, and air traffic control just didn't work for the majority of this flight, I think, until we got on the ground in Portland, actually. So we're going to fly over the western edge of California, over Death Valley, and then up along the, well, not really. I think actually we might have actually flown over western Nevada for a good portion of this flight. So let's talk about the Asobo Airbus A320neo that we're flying here. Obviously a very simplified version of a commercial airliner, and I think that was purposely done. Obviously it's not a study level, it's not the A310 that they just put out, which I'm really excited to learn, by the way, the A310. I really want to learn the study level airliner, but so far, it's been out for a month, and I haven't had time. I simply haven't had time, and I think most people that play the sim have a life outside of the sim like I do. And if all they had was study level airliners, nobody that has a life could invest any time in this game, and it probably would turn a lot of people off to the game. So I think the Airbus A320neo, the stock version of it, has a place in the game, or in the sim. It gets mocked a lot, I understand that, and that's fine. But for me, it works because I have a life. I don't have an hour and a half to go through checklists and set up a flight every day, you know. I want to be able to do that at some point, but I haven't been able to yet. So if all there was commercial airliners, I wouldn't even be able to play this sim for the way I do. So the A320neo, it's good for that. Very simplified. I can have it from cold and dark to the runway in like 10 minutes, which is, you know, that's ideal for me in most situations when I don't have a lot of time. So we're flying into Portland. It's a place I've flown into several times. I used to live on the Oregon coast. I now live just outside of Boise, Idaho. Used to live right on the coast, about a half a mile from the beach in northern Oregon. And my little boy, who is now 2.5 years old, a little bit more than that, was born in Portland, right downtown. The hospital overlooked the Moda Center, where the Portland Trail Blazers play. So quite familiar with Portland area. And my little boy spent 3 weeks in the NICU at that hospital. Ever since Sim Update 11, the graphics on the Xbox Series X have taken a real hit. I don't know what they say, that the problem should be fixed in sometime in January, which is kind of ridiculous. So I mean, the most enjoyable things to do with the simulator now is to fly bad weather or night flights, because unless the servers are really humming, like the graphics just are not as high quality as they were a month ago, which is frustrating. And I know a lot of Series X users are quite frustrated with it. Alright, so we've been at our cruising altitude. I can't remember what I chose. I think it might have been, I don't know, I'm not sure. We're heading kind of straight north. I don't know if it was a little bit west or a little bit east, but it was like either 33,000 flight level 330 or flight level 340, depending on whether we're going east or west. I can't remember at this point. And we ought to be over Oregon at this point, out of California. As you can see, the weather has gone from quite nice in Palm Springs to overcast and quite cloudy. It looks like we're over more of a desert part of Oregon, so it might be over central to western or eastern Oregon, I should say. But we're going to make a little bit of a correction left here, it looks like, and start heading back towards the Willamette Valley and Portland. As we come in to land this bird, it's going to give us, oh, you can see there's a lot of weather going on, a lot of precipitation off to our right and up ahead on the radar. And we're starting our descent into Portland, I think. Let me yeah, our altitude is definitely dropping. So we are definitely descending into Portland here. It's going to be overcast. We're going to not have a lot of visibility for a little while. I really liked the contrast on this flight from how nice and clear it was in Southern California to the overcast rain of the Pacific Northwest, which is pretty normal for this time of year. I was on live weather, so I'm not manipulating the weather in any way in these flights. I'm just leaving them on live weather. So if we do get a nice clear day and the graphics look like absolute garbage, we'll have to deal with it. And I'll just do my best to show scenes that look good, I guess, and aren't blurry. The draw distances have really taken a hit, so like you're basically what's right underneath the plane looks sharp and everything on the outside looks blurry, and it's really frustrating because it looks so good just a month ago, and this Sim Update 11 really set it back. Alright, so Portland is off to our left, and we're going to land heading towards the south. So we are going up above Portland. We'll take a left and come back towards the south, and if the weather was clear, we'd have a nice view of Mount Hood, but the weather is not clear. As you can see, we're starting to get under the cloud ceiling here, having some rolling hills come into the distance. We're out of the deserty area, and we have some forest, have some nice green, which is typical of the area around the Willamette Valley. Everything east of that is pretty deserty in Oregon and looks kind of nasty, but the Willamette Valley and the mountains around it, and obviously the Columbia River Gorge, is absolutely beautiful and green. So to circle around Portland from the north and land south, we obviously have to go into Washington. So we headed up. We would have probably been able to have seen Mount St. Helens as well, maybe even get a glimpse of Mount Rainier. Well, we definitely would have got a glimpse of Mount Rainier if it was clear, but we might have circled right around Mount St. Helens. But we're heading south now towards Portland, and we've hit our decel point where we are extending some flaps. So we've extended our flaps. I can't tell, I don't think we're fully configured for our landing just yet. I didn't have a long enough glimpse at the flight deck right there to tell. Let me see if I can see now. No, we're definitely not fully configured. And sorry guys, my 2-year-old's making some noise in the background we're gonna have to just deal with. That's the way it is when you have 2 toddlers. You just have to deal with whatever. Everything. You just have to deal with everything. Definitely having toddlers teaches you how to roll with the punches, that's for sure. And that's an example of why I just can't make videos with commentary very much anymore, because it's impossible. It's impossible. Which has really hurt my channel and basically wiped out any sports content that I am able to bring. So we do Flight Simulator now. We do Flight Simulator with no commentary because my kids make it just utterly impossible to do commentary. Alright, beautiful view of the Columbia River. You can see off to the right the Willamette River, which runs through downtown Portland. But we're over the Columbia River now, and I believe we're landing on runway 10 right, I think. I don't know if we're gonna, basically we lost air traffic control. I don't think we get it back until we actually touch down and they tell us to go to ground, but we don't actually get clearance to land, so I'm just hoping that we get down there and nobody's sitting on the runway, because the sim kind of went wacky on us here and we lost air traffic control for whatever reason. I don't even know what happened, but all of a sudden it just disappeared, and then it magically returns when we get off the runway. Alright, so by now we're definitely fully configured. We're at flaps 4, gear extended, coming into land. Gonna go over the top of what looks like some Walmart parking lots and whatnot. Really like this view. Now, I didn't even notice while I was actually landing because I was concentrating so much that the water was breaking up like this. Another issue with Sim Update 11. The draw distances. The water looks absolutely terrible. A month ago, it wouldn't have been doing that. It would have looked just pristine pretty much. But now we've got lines and the water's breaking up. We're gonna have some floating houses just pop up and appear out of nowhere here, and I was so concentrating on the landing that I didn't even notice it. So when I got down, I was like, oh, that was beautiful, that was a sweet landing, that was awesome, and then I watched it again and I was like, what the heck is going on with the water? Didn't even notice it. Alright, it looks like the runway is gonna be fairly dry, I imagine. We're not getting any rain on the windshield. So my favorite time to land is when it's dusk or it's overcast, and so there's still light, but yet it's dark enough that the lights on the runway are on. I really like that.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard 5.
And we are on the ground, wheels down in Portland. Butter. That was one of my better landings. I've had some bad ones that I have no problems showing you my bad landings. I'm not a real pilot. I have no qualms about showing you all my bad landings. In fact, there's a video coming up where I landed in Russia and just bounced down the runway, one huge bounce, and I'll explain that in that video, how that happened. But it had to do with my kids, I'll guarantee you that. Blame it on the kids. So that was a nice landing in Portland. The wind was calm, which made it easier. And I'm actually amazed that I got this entire 20-minute commentary in without screaming and wailing of children. So it looks like a pretty busy airport in Portland, but they have a spot for us at the gate. I don't know which gate this was. I should probably record that information so I sound like I know what I'm doing. Alright, so this was a real flight recreation of Alaska Airlines Flight 357 from Palm Springs, California to Portland, Oregon. And it's a flight that I believe Alaska flies daily. We gotta wait for this guy to get out of the way so he doesn't get sucked into the engine. He's gonna take his time. Alright, get out of the way, guy. Stay over there. Alright, so my first Flights in 20 video with commentary. I'm going to try to do this more often. So we departed Palm Springs a little bit late at 9:50. We arrived in Portland at 12:31, which was also late. Our flight time 2 hours and 41 minutes. But we arrived in Portland safely. And Alaska Flight 357 is on the ground. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and give me a subscribe. I know it's not sports related anymore, and I know that probably turns off some of my followers who basically followed me for the sports, but as I explained earlier, I've had to transition away from that for various reasons, and we'll be doing lots of Flights in 20 in the near future. It's Mama's Basement Gaming.